Welcome, everybody, to Ridiculously Raw, the most must-see show on YouTube and StreamYard.com today. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined as always by good old MF Michael Fletcher, the First Lady of the Wrestling Forum, the Twisted Angel, Didi Woodson, awaiting the presence of the Phenom, Michael Bullock. We don't know if he'll be here or not. If he comes in, we'll catch him up on what he missed. If not, then we'll hopefully have him on our next broadcast. There are some sporting events that we have to figure out how we're going to do that. And I'm sure MF and I will have some sort of an announcement maybe at the end of the show about that. But for right now, we'll get into Monday Night Raw for this evening. And I'll tell you what, it was, in a nutshell, it was your typical throwaway holiday show, which, of course, today being Labor Day and whatnot. But there were some newsworthy moments that did come out of this. So with all that being said, let's dive right on in. And we started off the night with, of course, an in-ring segment. It was Randy Orton. Randy Orton cutting a promo about what he did to Drew McIntyre and saying that, well, our title match at Clash of Champions is only if Drew McIntyre shows up because of what I did to him 2 weeks ago when I punted him in the head 3 times and fractured his jaw. And because of that, if he doesn't show up, I should automatically be awarded the WWE Championship via a forfeit. Wrong. The champion, Drew McIntyre, he showed up. Claymore. Boom. So, all right. WWE has this ridiculous need to recap segments of previous television shows as if its core audience isn't watching from week to week. That was the entire premise of this segment. There was literally nothing else to it outside of McIntyre's anticlimactic return. For a guy fueled by revenge, he sure had no problem meekly stopping his attack on Orton when a few referees ran to the ring and wagged their finger at him. As for McIntyre driving the ambulance into the ring, it would seem to suggest an ambulance match between the two at Clash of Champions. Those matches are rarely any good, and worse, give WWE an excuse to book McIntyre to lose without actually losing. The laziness of the booking in this opening segment does not at all inspire any hope that this show will be a can't-miss holiday broadcast. Like I said, this was a throwaway show tonight for the most part. But, man, Drew McIntyre laying out Randy Orton. So that's really all that happened here. So not much really to this. 6-man tag team action. We had the Hurt Business squaring off against Apollo Crews, Ricochet, and Cedric Alexander. Hurt Business win the match 4 minutes and 25 seconds because Cedric Alexander has sold out to the Hurt Business. All right. On the surface, this looked like another effortless booking by the creative team, only to evolve into a breakout moment for Alexander. The immensely talented performer has been so wasted in his role that even the slightest bit of TV was welcomed with open arms by diehard fans who recognize his abilities. This heel turn and teased entry into the Hurt Business is a step up and a sign of bigger and hopefully better things to come for the competitor. Of interest was the fact that he just smiled, never really standing alongside the Hurt Business, despite insistence by the creative team that he had aligned with them. It would be interesting to see if that was indeed the case, or if he was simply choosing to go it alone, but not before sending a message to his former friends. But that's really all there is to say on this regard. So, well, the match was, all right. It was only like 2 stars, maybe at best. But, the big news story coming out of this was Cedric Alexander turning heel and aligning himself with the Hurt Business, and that would lead into something later on. So we'll address all that when we get to the other match, because that was one of the few bright spots of this evening. So hang tight, guys. You guys are gonna get into something here. All right. Another thing Monday Night Raw has been known for, besides, the cutouts and the unnecessary filler and too many cooks in the kitchen and friggin' too much too fast. Well, we had, this is an example of another problem, repetitiveness. And stop me if you've heard this before. The Street Profits versus Angel Garza and Andrade. The Street Profits win the match, 1 minute and 55 seconds, but something does come out of this. I want you to keep in mind that we had a special guest. We had a big change on commentary tonight, even though this was only a 1 week thing. As you know, Tom Phillips, I guess, took a vacation day, so SmackDown's Michael Cole returning to Raw, his first Raw broadcast since September 23rd of last year, before he went to SmackDown with Graves. But great to have him back, and it was only fitting he was there, because who showed up after this match? The SmackDown Tag Team Champions, Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura. And next week on Monday Night Raw, we're going to have ourselves a champions versus champions match. Nakamura and Cesaro from SmackDown, the Street Profits from Raw. Well, okay. While some might look at Street Profits versus Cesaro and Nakamura as an opportunity at a fresh match, but what this did above all else was spotlight how bare the Raw Tag Team division is right now. With no other obvious contenders for the gold outside of the Hurt Business, the writing team had to revert to bringing Cesaro and Nakamura over for next week's show. Odds are this could lead to a match on pay-per-view, as WWE has never met a match it did not want to exploit until fans could not possibly care less about it anymore. Case in point, Street Profits versus Andrade and Garza. Speaking of the heels, Garza going his own way and even igniting a rivalry with Andrade is hardly the worst use of him. Hopefully there is a plan of some substance for all involved, because that particular trio, Selena Vega included, is far too talented to waste. But I want to bring in good old MF Michael Fletcher, because he is our SmackDown authority after all. So MF, what in the world were your tag team champions doing on the show today? They don't SmackDown, they Raw.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Remember that little loophole that they were talking about not too long ago? How some Raw guys could end up on SmackDown, how some SmackDown guys could end up on Raw?
Brand
well,
Invitational. Yep.
The Interbrand Invitational, well, it seems like my boys, Cesaro and Nakamura, and yes, I gave them the okay to do this, decided to jump through the portal and decided to invade your little show on Monday Night Raw. You're welcome. Now, we got ourselves a situation where, well, we got champions versus champions next week. And that's going to be a heck of a match. That's going to be a very good match, to say the very least. So we're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. But, like you said, the problem with Monday Night Raw is that, like you said, there is a very bare minimum on tag team division. And as a matter of fact, unfortunately, when we get into it later on, it's going to get even more bare than ever before, because something happened later in the evening. We'll get into it. But yeah, I mean, this was a solid way to introduce the SmackDown Tag Team Champions to the world. And trust me, a lot of people were shocked in the Thunderdome, because we did not expect Cesaro and Nakamura to show up. It was a pleasant surprise, but yeah, a lot of fans were stunned. So yeah, nothing more to say. This is all right. Anthony, back to you.
All right. Didi Woodson, do you care to have a comment?
I wasn't as familiar with it. Basically just newsworthy building up next week. Everybody's got the point here that, it's getting stale technically on both shows. So yeah, we're due for a shakeup, and I guess you can say this is one way of kind of leading the shakeup by having the tag teams from both brands face off. This is another one of those things that's nothing new. They've done it in the past. They're doing it again. Something Vince loves to do. So not much more I'm going to add. It's yours.
Well, maybe you look very well. Let's continue on here. All right. MF, unfortunately, I think we might be going a little more serious with your all-time favorite lady tag team there, the Iconics. Well, of course, as you saw last week, they're no more, and guess what? They had to fight each other tonight.
Yeah, no, this was tough to watch. I mean, it was all right. I know what WWE is trying to do. They're trying to establish Peyton as the stronger competitor, even though I think both ladies did all right. But Peyton is going to be the bigger star than Billie. I think that's the way they're trying to push this. So,
It seems like it, even though in a way, I'll be honest with you. I mean, you're more of the Peyton Royce guy. I'm more of the Billie Kay guy. And I'll tell you what. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I was very, very happy to see Billie Kay come out as the femme fatale.
Yep.
MF, you know more than anybody how much I digged her when she was the femme fatale.
Especially in NXT. They thrived on NXT. Yes, they were annoying. Yes, they were a little over the top.
Lay Cool 2.0.
Lay Cool 2.0. Got it. Granted. I'll give you that. But
far worse.
They were, without a doubt, the most powerful. Together they were dynamite. They were, without a doubt, the most over. Because of the antics, because of their annoyances. They were such a great heel team. Now, I don't know what they're going to do with Billie. I mean, that is... I don't know how they're going to play that. I don't know what's the story going to be with her. I don't know what they're going to do with Billie Kay. Peyton, on the other hand, looks like she might be a future star in the making. And you could tell they're trying to establish it tonight. They try to establish it more that Peyton is going to be the star of these former Iconic members. I mean, she's got a look. She's got the, I guess you could say, the athletic ability. And a lot of people gravitate to her more than they do with Billie. Billie is more of, she's the better promo person. She's better at the antics. What she brings to the ring, her personality shines beyond anything else. Where Peyton is the better athletic woman, Billie was without a doubt the talker, the comedic timing that she had, and more of the mannerisms. If there was ever a moment where you needed her to go nuts or crazy, loses her mind, then she was the perfect person for that more than anything else. So that's why Iconics were so perfect together. But now that they are apart, this is where I want to see how they're going to do it. So, like I said, I think Peyton is the more athletic. I think Billie, even though she is athletic herself, she's a good wrestler, solid. I think she's more of a manager than a wrestler, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Now, I don't know. I think some people are going to disagree with that, and I know some people might come after me for that, which is fine. To each his own. But that's just my personal opinion.
Okay. So, all right. Let me get into this here. Peyton Royce, by the way, won the match in 2 minutes and 45 seconds. But what we're going to do on this show tonight, since it was a throwaway show, you know, I'll take cutouts and whatnot for a spin like I'm about to do here. But, you know, MF was nice enough to give us his thoughts on it because, you know, MF was a humongous Iconics fan. And go back to our WrestleMania 35 recap show from last year when MF absolutely lost his mind when they won the women's tag team titles. I mean, that's the moment I'll never forget when it came to the Iconics, especially, and it was even more so because they were on SmackDown at the time. So that was a big moment for MF. And I know that's one that'll never leave his heart for as long as he lives. But anyways, Peyton Royce won the match, 2 minutes, 45 seconds. Yeah, this was a dud. That was underwhelming. Why even book the match if it was going to be shortchanged time and any sort of creative development? Nothing to this. Paint by numbers match with the bare minimum from a physicality standpoint. Neither woman really took an aggressive approach and there was no sense of urgency. It was a match for the sake of a match rather than the last dance between two women who have been a part of each other's lives forever. And therein lies its biggest failure. So that's really all there is to say there. Then we had the entire Mysterio family. Rey, wife Angie, of course, son Dominic, and daughter beautiful Aaliyah. Boy, is she growing up, let me tell you. Okay, Charlie Caruso in the ring for an interview segment, interrupted by Murphy. And this was basically to set up a match. Now, it was already announced that Dominic Mysterio and Murphy were going to fight each other tonight. But they added a caveat to this. This wasn't going to be just a wrestling match. This was going to be a street fight. Well, Murphy challenged Dominic to a street fight, and Dominic, of course, saying yes. So, well, I'll give kudos to WWE for booking a promo segment featuring superstar. Well, yeah. Sarcastic congratulations to WWE for booking a promo segment featuring superstars who are far from confident talkers. Their lack of comfort was apparent, and the result was a segment that failed to build excitement for the match it set up. With that said, street fight between the biggest hidden gem in WWE and Murphy and a rookie better than his experience would suggest should be damn fun if given time, and we will certainly address that later on. Then we had a tag team matchup here. The Raw Women's Champion Asuka teaming up with Mickie James. They went up against Natalya and Lana. Asuka and Mickie James, 4 minutes and 50 seconds. Natalya and Lana got entirely too much offense in on Mickie James here, especially considering Mickie just came back to TV and is supposed to be a believable challenger to Asuka's title. Sure, this made sense within the context WWE Creative was trying to tell on this given night, but that does not mean it was the right story to tell. At least Asuka versus Mickie, if given enough time next week, has a chance to be something, could be one of the better Raw women's matches we've had in a little bit. This match here was, of course, a throwaway. I would probably say about 1.5, 2 for the effort. But I want to bring MF back in here because, you know, this is another one of those special moments here. Now, MF, it's no secret. Not just with the Iconics earlier, but it's no secret. Mickie James, someone you have been very, very high on since day one. You saw something in her. I know she hasn't done much, but that's because she had a bad injury that kept her out for a very long time, for about a year or so. Next week on Monday Night Raw, Mickie James will be challenging Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. And if given enough time, that's got potential to be some sort of a possible barn burner there, considering Mickie's ability. Now, I know she's not as young as she used to be, but can she, you know, give us at least one more entertaining match like she did back in the day?
It's possible. I'm not going to deny it. And it can go either way. Even though I do believe Asuka will successfully defend the title, and I do believe she'll win, Mickie James will really give it a great match, no doubt about it. What I'm afraid of is that neither lady is going to get a fair chance, because I kind of got a sick feeling that Natalya and Lana will not put this away. That they'll get involved some way, somehow. They'll try to interfere in the match, and I think they're gonna cost Mickey the match. I just can't oversee this ever. So I think the end is not gonna be great, but I do believe Asuka will get the job done. Given the right time, and maybe at the point of if the interference happened, hopefully they don't. They'll let these two just go for the title. But I just got a queasy feeling that it's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's very possible that Lana and Natalya might stick their noses into this, But Dee Dee Woodson, our women's wrestling expert here, what are your early thoughts on this match next week with Mickey and Asuka?
It's definitely going to be an interesting change up for Raw to see Mickey James going for title again. I mean, it's been a long time since she's gone for title, and yeah, there is a big chance that we aren't done with Lana or Natalya, but it's going to be nice to have a change of pace. Mickey's still proving tonight that she can keep up with these girls, and she did a very well done job tagging with Asuka, and now she's got her chance next week to go up against Asuka, and if these two keep their noses out of it, we may have a good match. But if we're all right that these two are going to butt their nose in, it's going to be another one of these ho-hum matches that nobody's going to be happy with. So not much more I'm going to add. It's yours.
All right. We have a 2-for-1 deal, folks. We had MVP's VIP Lounge. The guest was Cedric Alexander. And yes, Cedric Alexander made it official. Cedric Alexander cemented the heel turn. He has officially joined the Hurt Business. But they got interrupted by Apollo Crews, Ricochet, and the Viking Raiders. And it led into an 8-man tag team matchup with the Hurt Business going up against Apollo Crews, Ricochet, and the Viking Raiders. The Hurt Business. They win the match. Apparently, they won the match 10 minutes and 15 seconds. Cedric Alexander, did a move on Ricochet, went for the cover, and I'm sorry. Referee Sean Bennett, I got to call your ass out, son. Ricochet kicked out, and yet you still called it a 3 count? Nah, honey. No.
There's a reason why they called that. There's a reason why that happened.
Did he get paid off by the Hurt Business?
No. Because Ivar got hurt for real. The X came up. Ivar put the X up. They called the match off. That's why. When Ivar... Okay, let me cut the scenario because a lot of people are saying the same thing. Why did this happen? Why did this happen? Why did this happen? Here's what happened. Ivar did a suicide dive outside of, to the outside of the ring. At the time, Ivar, I think he hurt his shoulder. He actually put the X up himself. That means I'm hurt. I need help. So basically what happened is that's why the finish happened. It didn't matter what happened. It didn't matter that the shoulder came up, and it did. There's no doubt about it. The shoulder definitely came up, but the referee was probably told in his ear, end the match. So this was probably a call from Gorilla saying end the match, end it now. It doesn't matter how it goes. Even though I don't think it went to Ricochet or to Cedric, the referee probably got it in his ear. End it. Ivar's hurt. So that's what happened.
Okay, fair enough. So But nonetheless, Hurt Business winning the match in 10 minutes and 15 seconds. I got to say this was the second best fight of the night. I'm going to give this a solid 3 stars. I mean, this thing was on its way to being really good, but unfortunately the injury happened. If not for the injury, this thing could have been even better. We probably could have been talking fight of the night, perhaps, because this was beyond a fun sprint. And this was our first great match of the night. All right, a lot happened here. Alexander's reasoning made sense, and his delivery on the mic infinitely better than you would expect from a guy who hasn't had a ton of opportunities to express himself on WWE television. We have seen Ivar and Eric team with Alexander in the past, so their involvement here made sense, even if the inevitable multi-man tag match that it set up did not. And again, WWE rushes through weeks of matches and angles in one night. As for the match, the flubbed finish was really unfortunate because this was a fun match up to that point. Alexander was spotlighted, everyone looked great, and the right team went over. It just would have been better if, Alexander actually won the match with a legitimate 3 count rather than whatever the hell actually happened in the closing seconds, which MF just explained. The Hurt Business continues to be one of the great success stories of WWE in 2020, and the introduction of Cedric Alexander only strengthens the faction. Now imagine if WWE Creative had let the heel turn from earlier in the night breathe a little rather than rushing through weeks of television easily in one night. And that's why I always say, to the point, and this has been one of the biggest problems with Monday Night Raw over the last couple of weeks. Too much, too fast. And that's what the case was here. Too many cooks in the kitchen. Now you get what I'm saying here. So that's all I'm gonna say on this. But man, 3 to 3.25 stars. This was definitely the second best fight of the night. MF, if not for that unfortunate finish there, this thing easily could have been the fight of the night.
Oh, without a doubt, this was fight of the night written all over it. It was well on its way. But like I said, the injury to Ivar is a legit injury. And a court, now don't quote me on this, because I haven't heard any reports as of right now from anybody, not from any dirt sheets or anything else, just from the observant eye that I saw. I think it's a separated shoulder. I think Ivar suffered a separated shoulder, and that's why I think the match ended the way it did. So that's just my personal opinion. That's my own personal prediction. But I'm gonna openly say, yeah, this was easily 3.5 stars, and the second best fight of the night. So nothing more to add, Didi. It's yours.
Yeah, I can agree with the rating, and yeah, I've heard this, that it was a legitimate injury that was why they called the match the way they did. No, I haven't heard exactly what the injury was either. Saw the X go up, so yeah, I think they did it, because for one, AEW had all that controversy with Matt Hardy from their match. Continuing it after he got injured, and now WWE saying, "Hey, this is how you do it." They fall, they get hurt, whether they put up an X or not. We're gonna call it, and they called it. He put the X up, and yeah, Ricochet did kick out before the 3 count, but as fast as that happened, the ref couldn't tell the guys, hey, look, this is what we have to do. This is how it has to be. And so it just happened, and things like that happens. And this is just one more proof that, even though that everything's scripted, wrestling's still real. They still really get out there. They still really get hurt. They still really have injuries. So, not much more I'm going to add. So it's yours, Florio.
All right. Moving on. All right, let's see. As we continue on here, okay, here we go. Return match from Payback. Randy Orton versus Keith Lee. Fight gets thrown out 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Why? McIntyre strikes again. Drew McIntyre. Boom! Another Claymore to Randy Orton. Fight gets thrown out 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Obviously, this is going to be an automatic NA. And don't worry, MF. You'll get your time to vent, because I know I can only imagine how angry and PO'd you are about this. And I certainly don't blame you, because you are an Orton guy. But there was not much to this one. Lee versus Orton was a one-dimensional match that existed seemingly solely to get to the McIntyre spot. Has anyone lost more momentum since Payback than Keith Lee? On that night, he was the hottest star on Raw. Since then, he has lost a triple threat match, and here was but an afterthought in the continued escalation of the McIntyre-Orton feud. This was a wholly unnecessary match that did more to hurt Keith Lee than anything worthwhile on the Match to Clash of Champions and the latest match between McIntyre and Orton. So, no need to get into this. This was an NA, and, it is what it is. Then from there, we had more Raw Underground. Aleister Black going through some guys. Kevin Owens showed up, and they finally got it on. And then that Dabba-Kato guy. Oof. Enough said. Then we had, speaking of things on this show that were without question that were beyond, and I mean beyond, a trifle unnecessary. I understand they're trying to set up a match here, and I get it, but I did not like what we witnessed here tonight. I really didn't. Not one, but two handicap matches. Shayna Baszler, one half of the women's tag team champions, went up against the Riot Squad, and the Riot Squad beat Shayna Baszler in 2.5 minutes, all because of Nia Jax. And then we had Nia Jax going up against the Riot Squad. That fight gets thrown out. And whoa, what is this? We actually heard from Retribution? They actually cut a promo? Whoa, okay. All right. At least something interesting came out of that mess. Okay. One of the three matches that took place in this mangled mess of television actually had a finish. It wasn't a good one, but it had a finish. Baszler losing to Morgan, only for Jax to be protected, made little sense and further weakened her credibility. Just a week removed from a badass finish to the Payback tag title match and the return match and the subsequent return match on SmackDown Friday. Retribution, having a logo makes no sense unless we believe they thought it massively important to spread their message by hiring a graphic designer. Furthermore, the leader sounds like he rifled through Vinnie Mac's office desk drawer and found the voice distorter they used for nails and thought it would be apropos. And I don't know, but hey, I mean, at least we finally heard something from Retribution. So, MFDD, do you care to share a quick thought on this or anything? I mean, we finally heard something from Retribution here. I mean, maybe, I don't know. But
what it sounds like from what they were saying, it sounds like it's a bunch of disgruntled employees that could be from the massive layoff we had for COVID, is from the way it's sounding like, but there's no telling what it is. Because the first thing that popped in my head from the higher pitched Retribution member was a bunch of stuff that sounded like Maria Kanellis, which I doubt, because I think they've moved on. But it sounded like a bunch of stuff she would say. Okay. So that's kind of where what I'm seeing it could be is maybe they've got a group that's coming back from that massive layoff that just, really upset because of that. But then again, it could be what everybody else has been saying, because if you listen to all the dirt sheets, listen to all the YouTube news organizations, they all say that this is people from NXT, which is another possibility because NXT's always been trying to prove that they are just as good as Raw and SmackDown. And honestly, in my opinion, sometimes they're better. Sometimes they're not. It all depends on how the pendulum goes, where it lands. But it could be any number of things. But that's where it led me tonight, though, was just from them talking. It sounds like these people are upset with WWE, and it sounds like it could be because of the fact that maybe, if not all of them, but some of them could be people who were kicked out and trying to come back, and they just want to they want to make their opinion known, and they want to do it their way, and so that could be it. So that's my 2 cents.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
To harp off what Dee Whitson just said, actually, that's a very astute observation, Dee. That definitely could be very possible. It also could be just wrestlers who try to get into WWE and maybe they said no, and maybe it's them that could be disgruntled. Basically, talking about it could be guys who probably are independent guys. Like I heard some names from Evolve. Then maybe it's them. So I mean, there's a number of scenarios that it could be. It's definitely could be NXT based because here's the thing. During the time of Retribution attacked on Raw and attacked on SmackDown. Never once did they ever invade NXT.
Nope.
So it made us believe that maybe some of them are from NXT, and maybe that could lead to something bigger. But Dee brought in something that is very true. Remember all the wrestlers or all the talent that got furloughed because of COVID-19?
Yep.
A lot of them got let go.
Yes, they did.
Could this be an opening for some of them to come back in as members of Retribution? Because you got the story. That would be a perfect storyline to work off.
Absolutely.
Taking something like that, saying that, you casted us off to the side and this and that could be a perfect out that you could use.
That's great. That's a great point. So now we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I've heard names like Dominik Dijakovic. I've heard names like Vanessa Bourne, Chelsea Green. Those are some of the names. I've even heard Dio Madden's name thrown in. I mean, you remember Dio Madden, once upon a time, was a member of the Raw broadcast team with Vic Joseph and Jerry the King Lawler late last year. And, his name I heard was thrown around. We'll have to wait and see. But I did hear that that Retribution is only going to be exclusive to Monday Night Raw. So MF, you and your guys and gals over there on SmackDown can let out a big old because you don't have to worry about those goons anymore. Unfortunately, they're going to be Raw's problem. So, yay me. So, yeah, I got them to deal with now. Great. All right, but anywho, all kidding aside, let's continue on here. Then we had the underground stuff, but then Drew McIntyre got Randy Orton again. Charlie Caruso was hoping to get a quick word with Randy Orton, and then Drew McIntyre showed up, and then for the third time tonight, boom, Claymore, Randy Orton gets taken out in an ambulance. Now, MF, I'm very curious here. I know you had some Thunderdome things tonight. Did you officially? Now, I know you officially got in. Early on. They taped Main Event. I know you got in for that, and I think you even got into the beginning of Raw. But then they booted you out to get some new folks in. And did you ever get back in or not? All right. Never mind. I was very curious to. I guess apparently MF doesn't have any comments on that, and maybe it's a good thing because I know MF will probably go on a Cerebral Viper rant given what happened to Randy Orton, and I certainly don't want anything going on here. So we'll just leave it where it is. Main event of the evening: Dominic Mysterio versus Murphy in a street fight. Dominic Mysterio wins the match, and it was 14 minutes and 15 seconds. Murphy was getting the tar beat out of him by the entire Mysterio family, and then he basically said, "No mas, no more, I quit." So Dominic Mysterio wins the match, 14 minutes and 15 seconds. MF, I think there's nothing more to say except this was indeed the fight of the night. And I mean, it's one thing to see Ray and Dominic with kendo sticks, but Mama Angie and Little Aaliyah? Whoa, let's go.
Yeah, this is the Didi Woodson's. You know what? I'm gonna say it. This is Didi Woodson's style of punishment. This is something that I know she would even condone. Talking about the checkered apron, talking about taking somebody to the woodshed, taking out back and beating them with the checkered apron. That is exactly what we just saw here tonight. This was her brand of justice. This is Didi Woodson's style of brand of justice that we saw. There's nothing for me to add. There's nothing for Florio to add. This was clearly fight of the night. This was 3.5 to 3 3/4. And this was a great matchup. There was a moment in the battle where it looked like it was big trouble for Dominic. He got hooked up on the ropes again, and it looked like he was going to get martyred for a second time. But right before anything else, Murphy had the kendo stick. Ray instinctively grabbed the stick away from Murphy. That gave enough time for Mama and Sister to get him off the ropes, and then Dominic with one of the most sickest moves I've ever seen. This had everybody going nuts. Even this is probably Anthony would be channeling me in the oh my god, where the sunset flip. Powerbomb right through the table. My God, what a move that was. So, no, this was amazing. There's really nothing more to add. Didi Woodson, it's all yours. 3.5 for me. Fight of the night.
Well, I can definitely agree on that. Yeah, this was definitely, like you said, this is definitely the type of go out behind the woodshed thing that I would definitely condone. Yes, definitely. That where these guys are all from up here, up north. Me, I'm from down near Mid-South. So I'm from Oklahoma. This is kind of, this kind of stuff that you would find a little more, I think, a little more common out in that area. And, I saw a little hesitation from Angie when it came to wanting to hit Murphy, but once she made that first hit, she kind of got into it, and Aaliyah definitely got into it. I mean, the ladies, they took out a lot of frustration on that boy for hurting Dominic the first time. So, I think the Mysterio family, they made their point. They proved that, we're going to stick together. We're going to we're gonna have each other's backs, and this was definitely their chance to go out there and show not just Murphy but Seth, that you're not going to push us around anymore. And here's Seth wanted Murphy to make them the sacrificial lamb type thing, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen at all. This definitely was one of those where it all turned around and came back on Murphy, and I think we have at least one more match maybe with these guys, which would be the family versus Seth. In some way, it has to be something similar to where everybody can get involved and they can all get their frustrations out. But yeah, as far as the rating, I agree that Dominic going through the table, that was really very sick move. It was very, very awesome to see. Was a little nervous because I didn't want him to hurt himself, but he got up, he finished it. Didn't seem to have any retribution on him. So this definitely great match, and definitely showed that the potential that Dominic has. So not much more I'm going to add. It's yours for you.
Fight of the night, 3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star. It was as effective and appropriate an end as possible, with the Mysterio family finally getting one over on at least one of their tormentors. Murphy was great here, carrying Dominic to a solid match and bumping around for him. He took some wicked cane shots as well, paying off that portion of the story. Who really knows what awaits Dominic and his family next, but hopefully it does not involve Murphy or Seth Rollins, as I think this feud has run its course, in my opinion. But nonetheless, 3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star. We're going to get into our overall thoughts now. Didi Whitson, I'm sure you got to get going here, so we'll let you start it off here.
Yeah, this wasn't the best show in the world, but all in all, though, it was newsworthy. It definitely built up for a little bit for next week's matches, but also a little bit for Clash of Champions, and just building and building and building that storyline. And now here we finally have something that we can chomp down on for Retribution. We've got to hear them actually talk. It was distorted voices, but we still got to hear what their platform is, what is behind them making this attack. There's still many possibilities of who they could be, and I think now would be the best time for them to slowly start maybe unmasking the different individuals that so we'll have an idea of what we're in for this, because you're going to get to that point to where you're going to have to eventually, because the storyline is going to get stale and people are going to lose interest. And definitely letting them speak tonight, that definitely rebuilt that interest that was starting to slack off. Not real crazy about the placement of where they put them. Definitely didn't need the one-upmanship matches with Nia and Shayna, but at the same time, it was, like I said, it was storyline building. It was newsworthy because we do have the possibility of having these four. I think they actually said they were going to face off for the tag team champions championship. That Riot Squad was going for the title. So that it still was a newsworthy, even though the matches really weren't worth anything. Even the backstage stuff, a lot of it, whether it was good or not, was still in that newsworthy category. There's something else I was going to touch on. What was it? The Peyton Royce and Billy Kay thing. Everybody knows Vince has this thing for blondes. Yes, Peyton may not be a real blonde. She may be a bleach blonde. But I think, that could be something behind maybe the push that he's giving her. At first, I thought maybe he was pushing Billy Kay because Peyton is married to somebody who's in AEW. But in the end, she got the push and Billy Kay kind of didn't. But at the same time, they made each other look good, even though the match really didn't make a lot of sense. Really wasn't worth anything, but other than to just showcase the fact that these two, now have to go their separate ways because they destroyed the tag team. But yeah, the beginning of the show, not the greatest in the world. Definitely got better near the end. So not much more I'm going to add. So hopefully I'll see you guys Wednesday. It all depends on how my day goes because I've got grandkids the next 2 days, actually the next 4 days. So see you later. Good night.
All right. Good night, Dee Dee. Anywho, Raw was a mixed bag. I'll be generous and I'll give it a 5. It had a few decent moments, but it really dragged. I thought we might have seen a cliffhanger with Retribution, given that the NFL doubleheader runs opposite Raw next week, but that angle is still sputtering along without any sense of direction. And, one of the things that made last Friday's SmackDown so damn good was because of the fact that, they let everything breathe. There weren't too many cooks in the kitchen. The show was paced perfectly. It was a perfectly paced show on Friday night. This show, not so much. Another case in the last few weeks that's what, ever since the Thunderdome thing started, SmackDown's been better than Raw. And Raw, a lot of problems. Repetitive matches we've seen 50 times already. We don't need to see any more, but they keep shoving it down our damn throats. Too many cooks in the kitchen? Absolutely. That's the biggest problem right now. And of course, the other humongous problem, too much too fast. Do what SmackDown did. Let it breathe. Let it simmer. Don't rush. That's the problem with Raw. Rush, rush, rush. That's the problem with Raw. And that's why SmackDown's kicking our damn asses right now. Especially after that damn good show we saw on Friday night. And who knows? This Friday night could be more of the same. You never know. And then with what NXT's got on the pipeline for tomorrow, I mean, man alive. But, I'll get off my high horse now. Up until around like July or August, Raw was putting together some decent shows. We were putting together some great shows even. But probably for like the last month or so, we're back in a funk. And it's a damn shame, really. But I think we had a solid to decent show last week, but unfortunately, it was, as I like to say, it was back to reality. And I was somewhat encouraged after Friday's SmackDown. I'm like, maybe that could lead to something good for Raw. Who was I kidding? Only myself. So that's all there is to say on this. 4 to 5. 4 to 5. That's the best I could do. So nothing more to say. MF, your quick final thoughts on what ended up being yet another throwaway holiday edition of Raw.
Yeah, no, 4 to 5, you're about right on that. I think it could have been a lot more better than it was, and yeah, there was really nothing more to add. It should have been better. It wasn't better. Like you said, that was a total let down in half. So there's really nothing more to add here. So Anthony, just go on with your Tony's take.
All right. Starting it off with Impact Wrestling, and well, history was made, but we'll get into that in just a moment. We started the show, Sami Callihan versus Rob Van Dam. Sami Callihan wins in 7 minutes and 4 seconds. 2-star match. Both of these guys are capable of better. This match can only be viewed as a disappointment. Now, I'm all for managers and valets being used in a match to distract the babyface, but Katie Forbes' single move-in distraction appears to be twerking, and I get it. This is her gimmick. It's not like she's capable of more, but it's not a good gimmick, and it hurt what was a fairly passable match at best. Moving on, a lot of backstage stuff and Wrestle House, boo. Reno Scum against Rhino in a handicap match. Rhino wins in 4.5 minutes, 1.5 stars. The match was barely anything to speak of. The story matters here, and anything that gets Heath back to action is good news to me, so we'll see. Triple XL against the Deaners, and they screwed around the house. Ace Austin, Madman Fulton against the Rascals. Rascals win the match, 4 minutes, 47 seconds. 2.5 stars, good stuff. Just think how good it would have been if it had an extra minute or two that was taken from the Wrestle House nonsense. The Rascals getting the win was surprising, but I'm not worried about Austin and Fulton standing, so it was fine. Works for me. And Wrestle House finally produced a good match. Rosemary against Taya Valkyrie. Taya Valkyrie won the match in just north of 4 minutes, 2-star match, and it wasn't bad. And thankfully, the Wrestle House nonsense is over. Yes. About damn time. Couldn't stand that nonsense. Black tie celebration for Deonna Purrazzo. Kimber Lee was the master of ceremonies. And, a fun little moment comes to mind. I could be drooling over Deonna Purrazzo's gown, and MF, I'm sure you were probably having some fun seeing your girl Kimber Lee in her little gown there. I mean, what a fun little moment that could have been for us. But it was interrupted. Jordan Grace first interrupted, and then Tennille Dashwood interrupted as well. So definitely a lot of chaos within the women's division, even though Kylie Rae is the number one contender. So, we're going to have to wait and see on that. Next week on the show, Kylie Rae and Susie are going to be Madison Rayne's guests on the Locker Room Talk. Chris Bay against TJP. That in essence might be a contenders match for the X Division Championship and for Rohit Raju. And the Motor City Machine Guns are going to defend the World Tag Team Championship against the Rascals. Main event of the evening, Eddie Edwards defending the Impact World Championship against the world-class maniac Eric Young. Winner of the match, 12 minutes and 41 seconds. And new Impact Wrestling World Champion, Eric Young. Fight of the night, 3.25 stars. Big win for EY. And a surprising one for me is I thought Eddie would have had a little longer run with it. And the rumor was that he was going to be defending against Ken Shamrock at Bound for Glory. That was going to put some butts in the seats. But I think they might be going in another direction. The match had a few bits of repetitiveness here and there, but it worked. They worked hard, had some great action in there. Curious to see where they go from here. But yeah, EY, once again, World Heavyweight Champion. History made. No question about it. So 6 out of 10. First half of the show. It's because of the first half of the show. It was a slog. It was some disappointing matches, some merely okay segments up through the Deaners match. And after that, it picked up mightily. We got a good tag team match, the culmination of the Wrestle House, Tennille Dashwood's return, and a surprising title change, and a very good match. It was not a good show by any remote stretch of the imagination, but there are a few must-see parts in the final hour that are well worth checking out. So it's a 6 out of 10 for me. So we'll wait and see what they have in store for us tomorrow. So 8 p.m. Eastern over on Access TV with an encore at 11. Sandwiched in by, of course, Impact in 60. So that's really all I can say on that. So all right. So let's get into the latest installment of of 205 Live real quick, and then we'll get into our final. We'll get into what's going to be going on with our shows here. So all right. Just trying to find it here. I think I might have it. Let me see. All right. Okay. We started it off with Ariya Daivari against Tahuti Miles. Ariya Daivari, 6 minutes and 19 seconds. Solid, kicking into another gear as it came to a close. I love the aggressive nature from both guys. It was just a hard-hitting match, 2 3/4 of a star. Mansoor was in a squash match, but he wasn't in a squash match with anybody. He went up against Colby Corino. When you hear the last name, there's only one Corino in the world of professional wrestling that is well known more than anybody, and good old MF Michael Fletcher knows him better than anybody. MF, I know you remember one of the all-time greats in the old ECW, Mr. Steve Corino.
Steve Corino, King Corino. Also, not only that, but he also was a part of Ring of Honor. He's also a part of Ring of Honor and actually was a commentator for New Japan Pro Wrestling for a little while too. So yeah, absolutely. There's really nothing more to add.
His son, Colby, was in this match. He was fed to Mansoor, and Mansoor took care of him in 3 minutes and 16 seconds. So, seems the new format is to give us at least one squash a week to get some people over while using younger guys as enhancement talent. Corino took some nasty bumps in this one, but got to show a little, and Mansoor stays undefeated. Ever Rise, Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan, ended in a no contest, 5.5 minutes. It was an adequate tag match. It was about the same as the other times they had faced each other. The non-ending was fine, as the goal was to get more heat on Legado del Fantasma and set up challengers for the NXT tag belts down the road. 2 stars. 6 1/4 out of 10. Solid show, but the new 3-match format has dropped the in-ring quality a little bit. I do like that they are giving storylines and angles to these guys now, which gives some purpose to what is happening. Just a fine show overall that has nothing must-see. It's always an easy watch, and that's all there is to say there. So that's a 6 1/4 out of 10. So that will put the bow on this edition of Ridiculously Raw. Now, MF, we've got some sports things coming down the pipeline here. How are we going to do this?
All right, so this is how we're going to settle it. Tomorrow night, we're doing the NFL preview, and we're also previewing the first game of the NFL season, the Texans versus the Chiefs.
Fair enough.
Wednesday night Mayhem, as always.
Yep.
We're going to do All Out, NXT, and Super Tuesday, and AEW Dynamite. Thursday night, College Football Thursday returns, because we do have some top 25 games.
Oh.
So there are top 25 games. We will cover them Thursday at 10:30. Friday, Cerebral Smack Talk, as always. Saturday, NFL Saturday returns, and that's when we do the full slate of games. So there you go. That's how we settle it.
And as far as the Tuesday show goes, I think maybe we could throw in a quick conference finals preview for the NHL?
Absolutely, yeah, most definitely. We can definitely do that. 10:30 Eastern. All shows will be at 10:30.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll do the conference finals first, and then we'll do our NFL preview, and then we'll preview the Texans Chiefs opener. Call it a night after that, and then Wednesday Night Mayhem with all that, and then College Football Thursday. We'll have to look and see which top 25 games are going down, and then of course Smack Talk on Friday, and then the NFL show on Saturday. Okay, all right, good. I love it. So busy seasons here, folks. this is our annual enrollment, if you will. So that's really all there is to say on that. So yeah, that will put the bow on this edition of Ridiculously Raw. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. We'll be back with you tomorrow night for the first of 3 Strictly Sports shows this week, and it's going to be an every other night thing. So Strictly Sports coming up tomorrow night, conference finals in the NHL. Michael Bullock is here. MF, you can take off. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.
Michael Bullock, come right on in. Let's get your recap for Monday Night Raw this evening. So, how you been?
Hey, I've been doing pretty good. How about you, my friend?
Oh, not bad at all.
Oh, that's good to hear.
It's been a while since we've connected, but anyways,
but
let's get into
let's get to the nitty-gritty.
Yeah. We all agreed that this Monday Night Raw this evening was not all that great, but what I want to do here is only get into the standout stuff. The standout stuff, such as Randy Orton getting attacked by Drew McIntyre, 3 claymores.
Well, I guess we can say, Florio, well, what goes around comes around. I mean, Randy Orton gave 3 punts to Drew McIntyre, and McIntyre gave him some 3 claymores. So, but according to the WWE officials, Florio, I guess we heard that Drew McIntyre is still not cleared to compete. And how long? How many more weeks before Clash of Champions?
3.
Well, I mean, Drew McIntyre better hope he's cleared before that, because remember what they've said: every title must be defended.
That is correct.
And if Drew McIntyre is not cleared, then even though we may not like it, but they may have no choice but to. Drew McIntyre may have no choice but to forfeit the title to Randy Orton. And I'll tell you this, Florio, if that does happen, the IWC is not going to be very happy about it.
No, not at all. Not at all. So,
because here's the thing.
Sure.
Why would you? I mean, Orton's won so many world titles. Why would you think another WWE title run? What would that prove?
They're obviously trying to groom him for Flair's record. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, but as far as I'm concerned, Ric Flair will always be the man, no matter what anybody thinks. So, but yeah, I mean, let's just say it wasn't a good night for Mr. Orton.
Well, you can keep your mic on, Bullock, because it's just us now. I mean, we already took care of the big business here. But anyways, speaking of business, Cedric Alexander's joined the Hurt Business and turned heel.
Wow, I mean, yeah, I mean, well, and here's the thing, Florio. I mean, I think a heel turn could do wonders for Cedric Alexander, because I'm going to be quite honest with you. He wasn't getting over as a babyface.
No, not
as much as how talented he is. He wasn't getting over as a babyface. So maybe turning him heel and having him with the Hurt Business maybe will do him wonders. So we'll wait and see how that goes.
We'll see. And then after the Street Profits made quick work of Garza and Andrade, the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura, show up. And then next week, Cesaro and Nakamura, champions versus champions against the Street Profits.
Yeah, this was a surprise. I mean, and you know what, Florio? I mean, I was thinking that if they were going to do this, I thought maybe they would save this for Survivor Series, since it is, you got all 3 brands going at it, but we're not going to wait until Survivor Series. We're going to get that match next week. And I know, Florio, who you're already pulling for. You're pulling for your Raw Tag Team champs and probably saying, not in my house, guys. As talented as you guys are, you're SmackDown guys. There ain't no way you guys from SmackDown are coming on our show and beating our tag team champions.
And also next week on Raw, Asuka will defend the Raw Women's Championship against Mickie James.
Yeah, and let's not forget, Florio. This isn't the first time that these two have faced each other.
No, it's not. NXT TakeOver Toronto 2016.
Yeah, and that turned out to be a really good matchup when these two went at it for the NXT Women's title. So I don't know if it's going to be as good as that, but you never know. We'll have to wait and see on it. So, but something tells me, Florio, this is going to have a screwy finish.
Probably will.
And you probably know why.
Yes, and I don't want to really address that because we're short on time. But anyways, 8-man tag team action. Cedric Alexander, the newest member of the Hurt Business, with the Hurt Business, squaring off against the Viking Raiders, Ricochet and Apollo Crews. Hurt Business won the match 10 minutes and 15 seconds. And yes, there was a little bit of controversy, but MF explained it. It's because Ivar of the Viking Raiders got hurt during the match. He broke his arm. He threw up the X sign, and they just threw the match away. And I guess they went with the controversial finish there, but the Hurt Business still won the match, though. But Ivar, very hurt.
Yeah, I heard about that, and hopefully he'll be okay. But as far as the match goes, I have to say because of that, I'm going to give it 2.5 stars for the rating.
Fair enough. We finally heard from Retribution, so distorted voices, but we still heard from Retribution nonetheless. We finally got something from them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they got something. I mean, they don't. It's still hard to know what they want. I mean, obviously they don't like what they're seeing here, so who knows what we're really gonna know from them.
And then the main event of the evening, which was the street fight, Dominic Mysterio against Buddy Murphy. Dominic, yes. Oh. Dominic Mysterio won the match in I believe it was 14 minutes and 20 seconds or so. So, fight of the night. This was no doubt the fight of the night. And how about the entire Mysterio family, including Angie and Aaliyah, getting involved with the whipping of Murphy?
Well, let's just say Murphy got whipped like a government mule by the entire Mysterio family, and probably deserve it after when him and the Monday Night Messiah put the family through. So this was definitely the fight of the night. I'll give it 3.5 stars, so nothing more to say. And as far as the overall thoughts, I agree with you. I mean, this was definitely not the best show, but we did get some developments out of what we saw tonight. So yeah, and to me, I had a feeling it wasn't going to be that good a show. I mean, since it is the Labor Day holiday, so
yeah.
So hopefully next week we'll get a bigger. I mean, not a bigger, but a better show as we get closer and closer to the Clash of Champions.
And with the NFL coming back, Monday Night Football coming back next week with that doubleheader, I mean, Raw really needs to step up the game now more than ever. So.
Oh yeah, they definitely need to step it up now with the return of Monday Night Football.
Yeah, especially with that doubleheader. I mean, that doubleheader is usually their big ones. So.
Yeah, they're really going to have to put up a really good effort instead of phoning it in.
Well, you got that champion match and Asuka and Mickie James, so we'll wait and see. So that's it. That will put the bow on this edition of Ridiculously Raw. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. And Bullock, our busy season has started. We're going to have a very busy week this week. We're going to be on. We're going to be on every night this week. Tomorrow night, we are going to have. It's going to be a rotation every other night. It's going to be wrestling, strictly sports, wrestling, strictly sports, wrestling, strictly sports. So Strictly Sports tomorrow night. We're going to be previewing the NHL Conference Finals. We're also going to have our NFL preview, and we're also going to preview Week 1 of the Texans and the Chiefs. That's it. Wednesday Night Mayhem. We're going to be reviewing the All Out pay-per-view of AEW, NXT Super Tuesday 2, and an AEW Dynamite. Thursday night, it's going to be College Football Thursday. We're going to get into some top 25 action. We will address that on Thursday. Friday, of course, Cerebral Smack Talk. And then Saturday, NFL Saturday. And we'll run down the rest of the games for Week 1. So get ready. Busy season's here. So time to really step up the game. So.
Oh, yeah. Especially now with football season here.
Yep. So that will do it. So until tomorrow night for the NHL Conference Finals and NFL Preview edition of Strictly Sports, it's Anthony Florio here for the Phenom Michael Bullock, and in spirit, good old MF Michael Fletcher, the Twisted Angel Didi Woodson, and always in forever the Hardcore Pipe bomb Derek Ferreira. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Tuesday. And until tomorrow night for Ridiculously Raw, tomorrow night for that Strictly Sports show, you've been watching Ridiculously Raw right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long. Bye, everybody. Bye. And remember, beyond anything else, wrestling is indeed actually real. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody.